Welcome back everybody, I'm George, and this is the complete review for the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. In this video, we are going to take a complete look both inside and out, doing all kinds of tests, app launching, gaming, and of course, a very comprehensive look at the cameras. If there's anything you want to know about the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, you will hear about that specific thing. But anyways, that being said, let's begin by talking about availability. Right now, if you go get it in a normal store like Amazon, you will find it in yellow, titanium, which is the one that I have right here, black, and purple, with 256 or 512 gigabytes of storage. Well, maybe if you're very lucky, you can also find a 1 terabyte version, but that one's always out of stock. This year, we have very good news because every model, doesn't matter the storage, they all get 12 gigabytes of RAM. Although I have to say it would have been nice to see a 16 gigabyte of RAM version of the phone, even if it's just with 1 terabyte or 512, because that's what I see a lot of gaming phones do nowadays. And at the end of the day, this is a top tier phone, so it should have the best of the best. Now, if you go get it at the official Samsung store, you will have access to some extra colors. More specifically, green, blue, and orange. And well, also you will have a lot more chances of getting the 1 terabyte version because they also have stock for pretty much every version of the phone. That being said though, my personal advice is that you get it on Amazon because maybe they don't have every single version, but they do always have the best prices. So I left a link down below in the description for Amazon just in case you want to go take a look. So first off, of course, we have to talk about the exterior design, which has been slightly perfected over the previous S23 Ultra, although it may not seem like it at first. And I have to say, I really like it. I think it's a great improvement that, everything that they've changed, everything that they've tweaked has been for the better, in my opinion, at least. As you can see at the front, we have the classic 6.8-inch Ultra display, same as last year. We have the same pointy corners that, are very good for consuming content and playing video games. Maybe not the best for ergonomics, as you can see, kind of like digs into my palm a bit. But as I said, when it comes to the experience consuming content, it is amazing. We also have slightly thinner frames all over the phone, which for the first time, I think on the Ultra lineup are symmetrical, meaning the bottom chin is as thick as the side chin and as thick as the top chin. This is great. I've been asking for a Samsung to do this for a long time. It is great they've done it with the S24 Ultra. Also, for the first time on the sides, now we have a new material. Just like on the new iPhone 15s, we get this phone's made out of titanium. This is pure titanium here, which at least on paper should make the phones be a little lighter, but well, unfortunately, the S24 Ultra is only 2 grams lighter than the S23 Ultra. As you can see on the bottom, we get the SIM ejection tool, we get a microphone, we get the USB-C port, we get a new revamped speaker, which instead of, micro holes is now a seamless longer hole. That's technically going to make for better audio. And of course, we get the beloved S Pen. This is probably my favorite features on Samsung phones, but we'll talk about it later. Let's keep talking about what we have on the sides. If we turn to this side, we see absolutely nothing because, on Samsung phones, everything is on the other side. So this side has absolutely nothing. Pointless. Well, it's not pointless, but it has nothing. You can do nothing in here. At the top, we get, I think this is a microphone and I don't think it's a speaker because we have the speakers right here. So this is a microphone and this is, I'm not really sure what that is. On the other side, we have the volume buttons and the power button, which, by the way, is also an action button, so to say, because if we long press it, you have to have the phone unlocked. If you long press it, it automatically enables whatever you want. In this case, it defaults to Bixby, but you could set it up to launch the camera. You could set it up to launch the flashlight. You could set it up to launch anything you want. And we go back to the bottom. There's nothing else on the sides of the S24 Ultra. Oh, well, we can take a look at the back. We were going to talk about it on the camera section, but I think technically this is also part of the design. So we get the same matte glass bag we got in previous years. I think since the S21, we get the matte glass back, which in my opinion is a lot better than glossy glass because it looks better, because it feels better, and most importantly, because you don't get those ugly fingerprints and oily smudges on the back, which make the phone look, have the price of what it is. It looks premium. Doesn't matter if you use it bare, naked, or with a case. It's going to, well, if you use it with a case and it's a plastic case, you can technically smudge the case. But if you use it naked, it's always going to look pristine with a matte glass back. If you want the more exact measurements, they're going to be right here. We have a 162.3 times 75 times 8.6 millimeter size, which equates to 6.39 times 3.11 times 0.34 inches. And it is 233 grams, which equates to 8.18 ounces. When it comes to the feeling in the hand, I would say it is, well, it's not the most ergonomic phone in the world. I think that's one of the downsides on the S24 Ultra. Because it has such pointy corners, because it has such a big display, it is not the easiest phone to use with one hand. It's a two-handed device, even if you have big hands. I mean, I'm 5'11", I'm a man, so I have slightly bigger hands than average, so to say. And even then, it's hard for me to use it with one hand. So if you're short, or if you're a female, if you have even shorter, smaller hands, you're gonna have a tough time using this phone. If you're running, if you wanna take it quickly out of your pocket while walking, it's gonna be a tough phone to use. But that comes with an advantage, and it's that if you're home and you want to consume, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, or play a game, the bigger display with no compromises on the frames, because since it has sharp corners, you don't lose any content like you do with an iPhone, because technically the curved edge sort of like eats up some of the content you would watch out, and you don't have that happen with the S24 Ultra. So for content consumption, it is a beast, but for versatility of use, I mean, not so much. It has IP68 water and dust resistance, which is good for, I think, 1.5 meters deep for 30 minutes. So, the accidental drop in the pool, the accidental drop in the sink, no big deal, no problem. You can actually technically shower with it while playing music. I don't recommend that because warm water and shampoos and chemical components on those chemicals, on the shampoo and the gel, technically over time corrode the protections it has on the behind the display. So over time it could destroy the water seal if you keep showering with it. So don't do that. That's at least my advice. But if you drop it in the pool, or even if you want to take an underwater video, it's okay. Nothing's going to happen to the S24 Ultra. As I said earlier, the S24 Ultra has USB-C, more specifically USB-C 3.2, which is the fastest version of USB available right now, I think, which allows you theoretically, and well in practice too, to connect the phone to an 8K monitor at most. Of course, you can also connect it to lower resolution monitors and basically mirror whatever is going on in the phone in that display. But Samsung didn't want to stop there, and they created a specific custom version of the phone, so to say, for when you connect it to a monitor. It is called Samsung DeX. I think it's right here in the settings. Let me show you. You basically have to go to connected devices, click on Samsung DeX, and then enable auto start when HDMI is connected. With Samsung DeX, you will be able to connect your S24 Ultra to any monitor and access a completely new interface for that monitor, which is also very similar to the one we can see on a Windows or Mac computer. We're going to be able to use mouse and keyboard to browse the web, create emails, use pretty much any app or game we have on the S24 Ultra, and of course, because it's a very big display, it's very nice to type Word documents or Excel documents on it. This is a feature I feel like is very meant for people who don't have a specific computer, or that go often to places where they don't have access to a computer, so they can easily have maybe not all of the functionality, but most of the functionality of a normal computer just by connecting their phone to any display. And it's amazing. I don't think there's any other phone who has something quite as good. But anyways, that being said, let's move on. Let's talk about the speakers, which, as I said earlier, well, I don't think they are the best of the best. I'm not sure, at least, if they are or not the best speakers in the world, because Apple, there it is, Apple also has very good speakers on their phones. but at least it is up to par with what Apple can offer. The S24 Ultra has amazing speakers. As you can see, we have one at the bottom right here. It used to be like individual windows of speaker. Now it is a whole bar. I think that's better for audio quality. And then we have a very slim speaker right here between the corner of the phone and the display. It is impossible to see on camera. I would have to get very close to the phone to even distinguish it, but it's very loud. In fact, I'm going to do a little test where I'm going to phase the bottom speaker towards the microphone so you can see how loud it gets. And then I'm going to phase the top speaker towards the microphone so you can also see how loud it gets in comparison in terms of loudness. Here we go. Okay, bottom speaker. There we go. All right, let's do top speaker. Bottom speaker. Top speaker. Bottom speaker. Top speaker. Do you notice any difference? I mean, I've been doing the test, putting them in my ear, and sure, I think the bottom speaker is a little bit louder, but they're both up to par. So you do get true, real stereo audio, very good quality stereo audio with the S24 Ultra. For those who understand specs, the phone has 32-bit audio up to 384 kilohertz, which I don't know what that means, but for the audio heads, I'm pretty sure that's very good. That's what every top tier phone has. And of course, as per usual with every phone, unfortunately nowadays, it doesn't have any headphone jack, nor at the bottom or at the top or at the sides, no headphone jack. Although we technically can connect an adapter to the USB-C port. I feel like nowadays nobody does that because everybody has wireless earbuds, but you can do that if you want. And of course, we have the latest Bluetooth connectivity. We have Bluetooth 5.3, the latest and greatest, so it's gonna be the fastest, high resolution, high fidelity audio experience we can get on a phone. What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to give you a test of different sound genres, getting the phone close to the microphone so you can see how it sounds overall for different types of audio experiences. Was pretty good too. The classical music is, I feel like, one of the most challenging ones to do okay on a phone because it needs a lot of clarity, as I said. But finally, I wanted to do also a microphone quality test. Not only how good music sounds, but also how good voice sounds coming from the phone, which is also going to be a great way to test the microphones on the phone. This is going to be how good audio comes out from the phone and how good audio comes to the phone, so to say. The classical music is, I feel like, one of the most challenging ones to do okay on a phone because it needs a lot of clarity, as I said. But finally, I wanted to do also a microphone quality test. Not only how good music sounds, but also how good voice sounds coming from the phone, which is also going to be a great way to test the microphones on the phone. This is going to be how good audio comes out from the phone and how good audio comes to the phone, so to say. So I'm recording right now an audio test, and I'm going to, without making it too long, play it to you right now so you can see how good it sounds. Okay, and now something a lot of people also want to see is the sound and vibration settings on the phone. Let's see what options, audio options we get on the S24 Ultra. The first thing we see is a toggle that allows us to enable sound on the phone, vibrate, which is going to make the phone not make any sounds, but vibrate instead. And then we have mute, which I believe is just complete silence, no vibrations, no sounds, complete isolation from anything the phone may receive, so to say. Of course, we also get options for ringtone or notification sound. So for example, if we want a specific sound or song for our phone calls, we can choose it here, or choose the volume of the specific song. We can also do the same thing with notifications. I'm not gonna play all of them, of course, but you have a bunch of things to choose from, and I think you can also add your specific sounds that you can offload from your computer or download in the store. Then we have system sound, which is amazing. It lets us specifically choose what things make noise. If you don't want any noise when charging the phone, you can disable that. If you don't want any noises when dialing with a keypad, you can turn that off too. Then you have volume, which is also great. I don't think we have something like this on the iPhone. We can choose ringtone volume, media volume, notifications volume, and system volume separately. Then we also have a very cool thing, which is vibration types. If you go to call vibration, you can actually choose how the vibration feels. Each one of these things, you're of course not going to be able to see it on camera, but I'm feeling specific types of vibrations on each one of these options. So, I mean, I feel like it's very, very nitpicky, but if you want to choose the way the phone vibrates and the vibration intensity, of course, you can choose it here. There's a lot of, I really like the spring one. That feels very good, but you can choose whichever one you want. You can also do that for notifications. So call vibration is the vibrations for calls. Notification vibration is for notifications. System vibration is going to be for system sounds. And then you can also choose my God, the options we get on the S24 Ultra. You can, as you saw with the sound, you can choose vibration intensity for each one of these things specifically. You do have the option to choose intensity on each one of the specific toggles at the top, but you have a page where you can choose basically the intensity of all of them in one separate page. Then if we click on sound quality and effects, we can access the equalizer. This is something we get on, I feel like, pretty much every Android phone, and it's very useful for the people who know what they're doing. If you say you want to play mostly classic music, you can enhance the equalizer of the phone so you can get a better experience at listening to classic music. You can do the same with jazz, pop, normal, or you can go to YouTube and look for a tutorial on how to optimize the equalizer to listen to rap music. So you can basically tweak everything as much as you want so you can get the optimal experience with whatever you want. So imagine you are going to listen to a podcast. You can go take a look on YouTube. What's the best equalizer settings for a podcast? What's the best equalizer settings for listening to hip hop or to classic? Well, classic, you have the preset here. It's a shame that they don't let you create presets so you can automatically add, instead of just having the normal pop, classic, jazz, and all these things. You could add more based on your preferences, but you do have the option to go to custom and change anything as you please. And of course, it being a top-tier phone, it also gives you the option to enable Dolby Atmos sound and Dolby Atmos for gaming, which is going to give you a much better experience if you have the right hardware. You need special speakers to take advantage of this, but it is there. The phone is ready to play Dolby Atmos sound, which is, it's great. And then we have this toggle, the separate app sound, which is going to allow you to play media from a specific app on a different audio device. So imagine you want to play, say, your YouTube video through a speaker. You can do that through this app. I have not had a lot of time to tinker around with it. I have not used it, but it seems like an amazing thing. Imagine you want to play, I don't know, like a YouTube video for everybody to listen to. You can basically send the video from the phone to a speaker so everybody can hear without necessarily connecting every sound from your phone to that speaker. Now, the most advanced component on the S24 Ultra is definitely the display. In fact, I think it is the most advanced display on any phone on the planet right now in 2024. It has a 6.8-inch panel with a 19.5 by 9 ratio, which makes it very ultra-wide-ish, so to say. And it has an 88.5% screen-to-body ratio, which means that 88.5% of the display is display instead of border, which is incredible. You know, back in the day in 2015, 2014, it used to be 60-something, even 50-something on some phones. So this is very impressive. It has a dynamic LTPO AMOLED display, which means it goes from 0 Hz to 120 Hz in a dynamic way, so it's as smooth as possible. So not only you get the benefit of 120 Hertz, but you get the benefit of adjusting those 120 Hertz depending on what you're doing, so you can have that incredible experience without burning as much battery life. Then AMOLED just means OLED, but for Samsung displays, because Samsung makes their own displays and they have their own technology, so they called it AMOLED. And of course, it also has an always-on display. As you can see, if we lock the phone, instead of showing a black display, it can also show the time, the notifications, and you can also adjust this. If we go to the settings, we can not only make it tap to show, so if you turn it off, it's not going to show the always on display unless you tap, which then it will show the always on display. Then you can also show it as scheduled, so you can show the always on display at specific times. And then you can also enable it for new notifications. So on top of everything you saw earlier, you can also see new notifications. And also what's very cool is that you can also disable the background, which in my opinion is a much better way to show the always on display, because I feel like when the background or the wallpaper is on, it feels like it's on, like the phone is turned on, and it's this weird thing where you never know if the brightness is low or the always on display is enabled. So I much rather have it only display the time or the date and the notifications without the background. Of course, as I said earlier, being a top tier phone, it has 120 Hertz. As you can see, it doesn't say 120 Hertz, it says adaptive because it has an LTPO panel. So you get smoother animations and scrolling while automatically adjusting your screen refresh rate up to 120 Hertz, meaning it can be at 30, it can be at 20, it can be at 1. If you're looking at a picture, there's no need to update the display at 120 Hertz refresh rate, so it just updates 1 frame per second. But if you're scrolling through a menu like this, then it goes quickly up to 120 Hertz, so you can have a very good experience. And as I said, this allows for much better battery gains, so you can basically not consume as much battery while retaining the smoothness, which is basically 60 Hertz all the time. I do not recommend this option because the battery drainage difference between the two is not that big, and this one feels a lot smoother. Then you probably are not going to be able to see it here, but you can see it in some YouTube videos. We have HDR10+, which means we get incredible dynamic range, incredible differences in details in the highlights and the shadows. So if you're watching a compatible video or movie, you will experience something that's much, much better, much more immersive, much more high quality than a typical video or a TV show, movie, whatever it is. And I've tried it on the S24 Ultra, and it's very noticeable. Unfortunately, you cannot see it through this video because this video is not in HDR, so it basically would not feel any different than a normal video. But if you do have this phone, or you can try this phone, and you can go to YouTube and type HDR video to test how good it looks, you will be blown away. Trust me, it's very impressive. When it comes to the resolution, as you can see, we have 3 options. The native resolution is 3120 by 1440, which is the top resolution you can get on this phone. And it's, I think it's 2.5K. That's a big misconception. People seem to believe 1440 is 2K. No, 1080p is 2K. 1440 is 2.5K. What's crazy is that the display has a 505 ppi density, meaning there's 505 pixels per inch, which is incredibly high. For reference, the typical traditional iPhones with Retina displays used to have 320, 330, I don't remember. Then when they came up with the OLED iPhones from the iPhone 10 and up, they amp it up to 400. which is what, most Android phones had and usually have nowadays, even up till this point. This is a 500 ppi density, which is crazy. Doesn't mean it's going to be noticeably sharper because, as I said, on such a small display, it's very hard to know the difference between 400 and 500. It's very tiny. It's already incredibly sharp at 400 ppi. But for those display nerds that do notice the difference, that do appreciate the display being extra sharp, extra clean, the S24 Ultra is as sharp and as clean, as high resolution as it gets on a phone, unless you go for a 4K phone like the Sony Xperia ones. I think those are the only phones right now with 4K displays. The problem with those other phones is that they burn a lot of battery. So I think this is the best sweet spot between battery savings and sharpness. Something a lot of people don't know is that we get a new Gorilla Glass armor display, which is a new line of displays. It usually was the Gorilla Glass Victus and Victus 2. Those are the ones on most top-tier Android phones. This is a Gorilla Glass armor, which supposedly is a lot stronger, a lot more resistant, and what's my favorite feature on this display, it's also a lot less reflective. I'm going to turn it off. You can't really see the display reflections when the always on display is enabled. As you can see, it is very, very, I don't know how to call it. It's like it barely shows any reflections. I think it's better if I show you with a normal phone in comparison. There it is. It's pretty insane. Like the difference in reflections you get from one phone to the other. This is pretty much every phone right now. What you can see here is what you got in every other phone that's not the S24 Ultra. A lot of people are raving about this feature, and maybe it's not as it's important when you're indoors, unless you're directly facing a bright light like I am, which is not what people usually do. You don't have studio lights in your room, so you don't have to worry about this. But at broad daylight, if you're outdoors, this is very, very noticeable. Usually, the main reason why you can't see your phone in the summer outdoors is usually because of the reflections. There's very harsh reflections from the sun, making the display basically unusable. So it doesn't matter if you have very high brightness. If you have those crazy reflections, it basically prevents you from reading or looking at the phone. With the S24 Ultra, that problem just goes away, because even if you're facing the sun, it goes up to 2600 nits of brightness, which is the highest brightness I've seen on a phone. And it also has this anti-reflective coating. So it's like a double layer of protection against light and reflections. When it comes to the viewing angles, there's nothing new here. It's pretty good. I mean, it's an OLED display, very, very, very high-end OLED display. As many of you know, Samsung is the best manufacturer for displays right now in the world. And because they are the ones that make the displays, they usually give their phones the best displays they can make. So usually the S20 something lineup gets the best displays in the world when they come out, and this year it's no difference. The anti-reflective coating I was just talking about, no other phone has it, and it's probably going to be the case for like another 1-2 years. And then you have this mode, which basically allows you to get extra brightness without facing the sun. So when the phone is facing the sun, it enables the super bright mode, which is what allows it to get to 2600 nits of brightness. But when you're indoors and you want to ramp up the brightness as much as you can, you don't really have the option to take the phone to its maximum capacity. With this button, you can artificially make it be super bright without facing the sun. Then you have the navigation bar toggle. This is the traditional Samsung layout. You had the home button, the back button, you had the multitasking button. This is how basically every Android phone looked for a long time. But then, they saw how cool it was on the iPhone with the swipe gestures, and they included swipe gestures. So you can have the same type of swipe gestures. It's pretty similar to the ones on the iPhone. Also, I forgot to mention the S24 Ultra now has completely flat sides. There's no curved, which was a signature feature on Samsung phones for a very long time. I think since the Samsung Galaxy Note 7, we had curved displays. We had edges that sort of like blended display with the side. And this is actually the first year we get an Ultra/Note phone with a completely flat, no curved display. I love this. I really love this because one of my biggest issues with those phones was that I often accidentally triggered something on the display with my palm, because you know the palm kind of grips the side of the phone up right to the display. So if the display blends with the side, you oftentimes just clicked on the display accidentally. That doesn't happen anymore on the S24 Ultra. Some people don't like this. Some people preferred the old curved edges, but I really, really like the flat display. And of course, talking about the display, we have to also talk about the beautiful S Pen. This is probably my favorite feature on Samsung Ultra phones or Note phones. I mean, this is pretty much the Samsung Galaxy Note with a rebrand. But yeah, this is amazing. A lot of people think this is sort of like a gimmicky little pen that's plasticky and it's crappy. No, it works as well as the Apple Pencil on the iPad. It is very smooth. There's pretty much no latency, and it has this very simple but very useful erase button, which you can use to basically, if you're typing something, you want to erase it, boom. You tap on the button, it becomes an eraser like this. I cannot express or show how useful that is, because when you're typing something, hello, and you just make a typo, a quick typo on any other tablet or phone with a pen, which is usually very rare. This is, I think, the only big phone with a pen. You would have to go to the settings, tap on the eraser, erase the thing, and then go back to the pen. With the S Pen on the S24 Ultra, you can basically tap and keep going without having to look for the button and then change button and then go back. It's very handy, very fast. And also, by the way, something a lot of people don't know is that you can also use this button as a sort of like remote camera control. So I think it's, if you you long press, you go to the camera, and then you can like swipe between. Wait a minute. Make your S Pen. I know, I'm trying. What are you doing? Let me, there we go. I think it doesn't detect it if it's right over the phone. You can swipe between the modes, and you can even take a picture. There we go. You can even change the camera from the front camera to the back camera. Not really sure how you take a picture. I guess if you long press, there we go. Oh, you can take multiple pictures. That's very interesting. This is undoubtedly one of the best displays on the planet right now for a phone. It is incredible. It is up to par with pretty much every other flagship phone. And I have to say, in my humble opinion, it is actually the best display on any phone in the market right now. I mean, just the anti-reflective coating alone is just revolutionary. There's other companies like Apple that have been trying hard for years to get their phones or the displays to have an anti-reflective coating. They've had to do crazy things, charge you $500 extra for those anti-reflective coatings, and they've not even gotten like 20% of the effectiveness we get with this phone. This is remarkable. And it doesn't affect the visual quality. Like, the phone looks as sharp, as good, as contrasty as it looked without the anti-reflective coating. So it's amazing. Okay, now moving on, let's talk about the security and privacy settings. There's, of course, the best, highest end biometrics and security measurements on this phone to unlock and ensure that you're not going to get anybody touching what you don't want to be touched. You get, of course, the typical traditional fingerprint recognition. You can add multiple different fingerprints, and the process is pretty simple. You tap on the icon. There you go. Boom, boom, boom. It's really fast. It's really fast, really easy, and it's really reliable. I don't think I've ever had this fail on me once. I think it uses the latest and greatest ultrasonic technology that I think Samsung came up with, and then some other brands copied. And as I said, it's very fast, very reliable. It basically takes no time between the moment you touch the display. It's really fast. For being an under-display fingerprint sensor, it's really fast. You can also use face recognition. I do not recommend it because it only has a camera up top. So the camera is pretty much doing all the work from understanding depth and your details on your face, and yeah, it's not, I don't think it's secure enough. On the iPhone, for example, which is the reference for facial recognition, we have a bunch of sensors that not only take a look at your face, but also measure the depth. They send dot projections to your structure so they can get a 3D scan of the face. And then they have an infrared sensor for additional security. That's a proper safe face unlock mechanism. On the S24 Ultra, I highly recommend you stick to the fingerprint sensor or to the normal passcode because the face recognition is just not secure enough. Okay, now what do we get inside of the hood? Internal components. This is probably one of the most important parts of a phone, how powerful it is, what components does it have, CPU, GPU, RAM, speed of memory, speed of storage. All of these things affect performance and how the phone is going to feel. Fortunately, the S24 Ultra has very, very good specs. It has the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3 with 8 cores. It has the Adreno 750 GPU, which is right now the best of the best for an Android phone. It has 12 gigabytes of RAM standard. And of course, the RAM quality, the RAM speed, the SSD speed on this phone, all of these things are going to be as good as it gets right now. I have to say too, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 on this phone, I think it's been tweaked for Samsung. So it's a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Samsung, optimized for Samsung, and it's going to give you a little bit better performance than a a basic off-the-shelf Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, although for what I've seen, the difference is not that big, so I would not get too excited about that. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's do a boot up test and app opening test on the S24 Ultra, because I could technically tell you how fast the phone is, and you could believe me, but I feel like it's much better that I show you so you can see how fluid, how fast, and how responsive the S24 Ultra really is, because it is very fast, very fluid, and very responsive. So you can see it took about 10 to 15 seconds to boot up. Let me put on the passcode real quick. I'm gonna delete all the apps from the background, so there's no apps open, no opened apps, so it's completely fair. And as I said, I'm gonna do an app opening test, so you can see truly how fast the S24 Ultra is. Okay, let's begin with the camera. 3, 2, 1. There we go, pretty fast. Maybe not the fastest. I guess it's because it's opening things up in the background. We're basically doing as harsh of a test as possible because when the phone has just booted up, it usually has to do a lot of background processes, so it's not going to be as fast. But even then, it was pretty fast. Let's do the settings. Immediate, let's do the Play Store. Immediate, let's do YouTube. It's taking a little longer, but also very, very fast. Let's do, I don't know, with the weather. Very, very fast. Let's do Subway Surfers. Okay, this one should be very, very fast too. There we go. Okay, let's do Asphalt 9. There we go. This one should take a little longer because it's a 3D complex racing game. It's not as simple as Subway Surfers. And wow, that was pretty, okay, that was pretty fast. I have to say though, the phone is getting pretty warm, 37, 38 degrees Celsius. I'm gonna show you the, 39. 39 is gonna get to 40, 40, somewhere 40. That's pretty high, especially for like a minute of usage. That's, I feel like, one of the biggest problems that I've been having with the S24 Ultra. Sometimes it gets pretty hot. Let me boot up Call of Duty again. I was booting it up, but I got distracted with the temperature test. There we go. Let's boot it up again. Let's see how much it takes. Should be very fast, at least. There we go. Very, very, very fast. I think it's faster than the iPhone on Call of Duty. And maybe Mario Run, although I'm not pretty sure I've got the last update downloaded. It's been a while since I've played Mario Run, but it should also take no time at all. There we go. There it is. Pretty fast, pretty fast. So yeah, bottom line, feels like pretty much every normal app is immediate, basically immediate. They all stay in the background, by the way. As you can see, none of these apps have had to reboot because I've opened multiple. As I said, 12 gigabytes of RAM is pretty much going to be as much as you need for a phone, unless you're doing incredibly demanding things. As you can see, every single one of these apps has remained open in the background. So yeah, both in terms of multitasking, app opening, and well, app fluidity is something I would have to spend a couple hours opening and using apps for you to see it, but you can trust me, apps are also very, very smooth, very, very stable. Okay, now let's do a gaming test because I could give you all the numbers you would want, but I feel like it's much better if I show you how games actually launch, how games play, what are all the settings, also the temperature. I think that's a big deal also nowadays because phones are very powerful, but sometimes it's also at the expense of a very high temperature, which can even make the phone unusable. So I'm going to be measuring the temperature of the phone during the test. As you can see, the typical classic phone game like Subway Surfers is going to launch and play incredibly well. You're not going to have any issues with this game, of course. I mean, it's a very simple game. It's 2D, so I could be playing this game for like 2 hours. The phone would not heat up. I'm not going to be playing for 2 hours just to show you, but yeah, the phone is not going to heat up or warm up or anything. And as you can see, the fluidity is perfect. It's a perfect fluid experience as you would expect from the S24 Ultra. So yeah, let's jump into a slightly more demanding game. Let's do Asphalt. Please, Samsung, don't embarrass me in front of people. What have you just done here? If I'm not mistaken, this game only has 2 graphical presets. I think it has performance mode, which is here is the one that's enabled, and then we have high quality mode. Then we, of course, have default, which is going to let the phone choose for us. We don't want that. So we're going to start with performance, and then we're going to switch to high quality to see if there's any difference. I'm noticing a little bit more anti-aliasing than on the high quality mode, which means it's going to look a little bit rougher on the edges. It's not going to look as smooth, as creamy as a, high-end quality mode, like, well, high quality mode. I'm sorry, I'm making no sense whatsoever. I'm focusing on the game and on the way it looks, and I'm not being able to express my points with the best accuracy. But yeah, it works very good. I have to say, it has not dropped a frame in the entire race. It's feeling very smooth. I have to say though, it's a game where you don't really see a lot of camera movement. So even if it was running at 30 FPS, I would probably not be able to notice. But for what I'm looking at, it looks pretty good. Although graphics are noticeably less quality than on high performance. We're gonna switch now. I think we're gonna do the same race so you can try to see any differences. Okay, I'm noticing, as I said earlier, less anti-aliasing. The game feels and looks a lot like sharper. I'm noticing also like better lighting, more like better highlights. There's better shadows. There's better reflections. Maybe it's me, but yeah, it definitely looks a little bit better. And I am not noticing a noticeable difference well, no difference at all in the way the game performs. Bottom line, the game looks a lot better and it feels exactly the same. So I recommend you play at high settings on Asphalt 9. Okay, let's move on to Call of Duty Mobile. I think we're going to jump straight to high settings on this game because it works incredibly well even on high settings. So I think it's pointless to try the lower graphical settings. Max. And I think that's it. Okay, everything is set to max. Wow, okay, yeah. As I said, very smooth, very stable. I wish there was a higher graphical preset because this phone, and well, pretty much every high-end phone is able to load this game and to work with this game at high settings with ease. So I think Call of Duty should be working on some better looking graphics. So you can see very smooth, very stable. I have not noticed a single frame drop in the whole gameplay. Even if I move fast, yeah, it's very smooth, very stable, very good, very reliable. What I'm noticing though, which I didn't notice when I was playing Asphalt 9, maybe this is because I've been playing for a while, is that the phone is already heating up. Oh, come on, man, come on. All right, let's see if this kills. Let's see if this kills anyone. Oh, hello, my friends. Hello, my friends. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep playing for maybe 30 seconds to a minute more. And then I'm going to do a temperature check, a quick temperature check, because I'm pretty sure the phone has already warmed up quite substantially. And we're probably looking at 30 degrees Celsius, which I will do the conversion, don't worry, to Fahrenheit. So every American USA citizen viewer watching this video can understand what the temperature is. So yeah, let's actually do it now, or whenever I get killed. I don't think I'm gonna get killed though. The bots are pretty stupid. So yeah, let's quickly flip the phone and take a look. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot, especially considering that we're going to jump straight into the most demanding game of all, Genshin Impact, which we will play in multiple graphical settings because in this case we do see a big difference in performance between medium, high, and ultra. I'm pretty sure the phone is going to get even hotter as the video goes on. So yeah, those are not the best stats in the world, but I have to say, this I think is the case with pretty much every phone nowadays. If you play the most demanding games, we're starting to be able to have computer software in phones, and because phones don't have active cooling, you know, they're inevitably going to get a little warm. Let's do medium to begin with. Let's do medium, and let's do 60 FPS. It's a shame that they have not enabled 120 Hz gameplay on Android Genshin Impact, because we do have that option on the iPhones, but yeah, we can only go up to... Ooh. That's bad. That's bad. I mean, it's smooth, but there's some frame drops at medium graphics. That's not very promising. And the phone is, oh my God, in real time. The phone in real time is starting to warm up. Actually, I'm going to show you, like, I'm going to do 30 seconds and I'm going to go straight to temperature check because I'm pretty sure I'm at 40 degrees Celsius, which I'm not really sure how much that is in Fahrenheit, but it's warm. Like 40 degrees Celsius, I can tell you, is already like pretty warm. Yeah, let's do a quick temperature check because I'm pretty sure 41 already. Come on, man. Damn, and I'm playing at medium settings. Things are gonna get interesting when I start playing high settings. I have to say, like, I know I'm gonna get bashed in the comments by a lot of people for saying this, but let's do high default. Okay, so the default is high settings, and let's do 60. I'm not really sure why it defaults to 30 FPS. I mean, you're supposed to play at the... Okay, let's actually do something else. Let's also change the time. Okay, there we go. Daytime, high settings, 60 FPS, and surprisingly, the experience is very similar to the one we got with medium settings. I mean, there are some frame drops, especially when you just start playing, but no, like when you've been playing for a couple seconds, the phone sort of like becomes a lot smoother, and there's no frame drops right now, and yeah, things are working pretty well. I have to say, though, the visual fidelity of medium is pretty close to visual fidelity of high. But yeah, it's playing pretty smooth, although it's getting now uncomfortably warm. Let's check the temperature. So yeah, it's warming up a little bit more. It's getting to the 42 Celsius, which is, yeah, okay, I mean, it remains at 41 for the most part, but the only thing I'm missing is the 120 Hz option, but I guess that's more like software optimization or the update not coming to Android than anything. There you go. That should get rid of you guys. There we go. I'm level 3 now. Don't mess with... Oh, there's supposed to be a chest here, if I'm not mistaken. There's one more. Hello, my friend. There you go. There you go. A little bit more. Just a little bit more, my friend. And the chest is here. The chest is mine now. Let's collect. Let's loot. And let's switch it up to the craziest settings. Graphics. Highest possible settings. There we go. Can I change the high? There we go. So everything is set to the maximum potential graphics. And okay, it's pretty smooth too. Like, I'm not experiencing any major issues with ultra high. It's like, I guess the stutter and the lag didn't come from the graphics being too high. It came just from optimization maybe not being the best. So yeah, it doesn't matter the graphical fidelity. You're gonna get those little stutters, even if, I guess, if it was at low settings. But for the most part, as you can see, it feels very smooth, very stable, very immediate. And the phone is still pretty warm, I have to say. It feels like it's staying at that 41 degree maximum temperature. But yeah, hello? Are you going to try to do something? Are you going to try to do something to me? To me? Do you know who I am? I'm someone from Spain that doesn't really know how to speak English that well, buddy. Let's do a last temperature check to see if it's gone over... Yep, over 41. It's at 42 right now. And that is wow, that's very warm. Kind of like, doesn't hurt necessarily, but like, that's pretty warm. When it comes to the battery, we get a 5 3000 milliamp hour battery, which of course is not replaceable. You can't snap the back of the phone out and change the battery. So it's stuck there. You have to go to a Samsung official store to change the battery, and they're going to charge you a lot of money for it. But that being said, it is one of the largest batteries you can put on a phone, and it has very good battery life. This phone is incredible when it comes to battery life. We can do 45-watt wired charging, which means the phone basically charging through a cable. And this is good for 0 to 65% in under 30 minutes. Then you get 50-watt wireless charging, meaning through a wireless puck. And then you get 4.5-watt reverse wireless charging, which is not charging to this phone, is charging through this phone. Actually, I think it's turned off, so I'm going to enable wireless power sharing so I can show you how it works. We should be able to connect the iPhone in the right place. It's very finicky. You have to kind of snap the phone. There it is with the S24 Ultra. It is very finicky, as you've seen. You have to kind of like try and you know, snap it a little bit over there, a little bit up, a little bit to the side. I have to say my experience with the phone has been very good when it comes to battery life. I've been able to get a day and a half with no compromises, meaning max resolution, max brightness, max refresh rate, but there's a couple tweaks you can do to get the phone to last for 2 days or even longer. First off, you can go to the display settings and basically reduce the resolution from Quad HD Plus, which is 3120 by 1440, to Full HD Plus, which is a little over 1080p. You can also change the smoothness. There it is. From adaptive, that goes from 1 to 120 hertz and makes everything feel a lot smoother, to standard, which is going to limit the refresh rate to 60 hertz. A lot of people don't really notice the difference between 120 hertz and 60 hertz. You can disable that and save even more battery to get to 2 days plus with this phone. When it comes to the software, of course, we have the latest and greatest, One UI 6.1 and Android 14. What's amazing about this is that Samsung has promised 7 years of updates, meaning we're going to get Android 14, Android 15, Android 16, Android 17, Android 19, Android 20, Android 21, which means we're going to get big updates, software updates, until 2031. In 7 years. I mean, I feel like at that time, nobody will be using the S24 Ultra. Everybody will be using a more modern, more futuristic phone. But if you wanted to use your phone for a long time, you will be able to do it with this phone, because you're going to get more updates for the first time ever than you would get on an iPhone. That's very impressive. Usually on the iPhone, you get 5 to 6, depending on the specific phone. 7 years is really remarkable. When it comes to the launcher, One UI, I think it is the most optimized, the most fluid, and the most reliable version of One UI I have ever seen. Samsung has been working really hard to make it feel good, feel stable, so to say, because in previous generations, like 5-6 years ago, it was a real problem on Samsung phones specifically, because they felt good when you bought them, but 6 months in, the phone started to feel very laggy and buggy, and you kind of like just lost all the flagshipness of the phone. But in this case, well, we have a very, very smooth experience. When I'm uploading this video, I've already been using this phone for a while, and it's as smooth, as fast, as reliable as it was on day one. It is really impressive what they've done with One UI. So yeah, I would not worry about it not feeling good or not feeling snappy, because it is very smooth and it is very snappy. For those of you who've never owned an Android phone, it's not that different from what you can see on a Google Pixel or other Android phones. You get your homepage with your most used apps, then you have the app library with every other app. In this case, it's not set up like a scrolling thing. It's set up in pages, which for each their own. I think, in my opinion, I much rather have a scrolling wheel. It's the only thing I don't really like about One UI, but it's whatever, it doesn't really matter. And then we have the Google News, I guess, Google News on the side for, a quick access to Google. If you swipe all the way to the top, you can't actually browse anything. You can't type for anything specifically, which makes it kind of pointless to come here, because if you want to move on from something to something else, you want to, like something you read sparks curiosity, you want to search for something, you You have to go to Google specifically for that. You can't do it from this page. What's very cool about One UI this year is that on the S24 Ultra and on a lot of other Samsung phones, they've included some very neat AI features. For example, we can circle to search, which means if we just grab anything on the display, like for example, my dog, we tap here on the bottom, there it is, and we circle my dog, there it is. It's going to do a Google search. That's going to, in this case, tell us the breed of my dog. It's a Border Collie. Or if we'll imagine it's a person, it's going to tell us who they are. And if it's a piece of clothing, it's going to tell us what it is, where to buy it, how much it costs, the stores where it's available. And then probably my favorite AI features this year, you have a lot of editing tools for photos. So imagine you want to make your dog disappear. You just have to tap on the dog. There it is. And you can basically erase the dog like that. It's going to take a couple seconds to do all the AI processing, but it's pretty insane. Like the speed at which it recognized the framing of the dog, and there it is. I mean, there's a clear blurriness on the side where he disappeared, but it's pretty remarkable. If you really want someone to be out of a picture for whatever reason, you can now do it without having to worry about, sending it to a professional that's going to charge you money or spending an entire afternoon on Photoshop trying to figure it out. In the photo, you can actually also not only erase the animal, but you can also duplicate the dog. So you can put it here, and I feel like, I'm not really sure if it's going to double my dog or send him to that side. I'm pretty sure it's going to send him to the side. Would be kind of weird if there was two of the same dog. There it is. Well, it didn't really do that good of a job in here. As you can see, the tail is here, but the rest of the dog is here, and there's this weird tone on the grass. I feel like the good thing about this features is that because they are AI processed, the phone and the software is going to improve as time goes by. The more people that do this, the more it learns, and the better job it does. So probably when we come back, take a look at the S25 Ultra in a year, it's going to do a much better job with all of these AI features. Also, I think this is only available on the Samsung Notes app, but we can summarize text, and this is amazing. This is very useful. If you have a very long text, you don't really have that much time to read, but you kind of have to understand what it says. You can tap here, and it can do a summarization of the whole thing in this case, two simple paragraphs, so you can understand what it says quickly without having to spend like 30 minutes reading a whole essay, which is sometimes, especially if you're working or you're in college and you have to, get a lot of things done. You don't want to lose time. This can save you a lot of time. Okay, now what about connectivity? First off, we get Wi-Fi 7, which is, I think it just came out and barely any phone has it. It is the fastest, most advanced Wi-Fi standard available. For reference, most homes have Wi-Fi 5E, I think. Then some very geeky people who bought specific routers have Wi-Fi 6. Then some very, very, very geeky people that try to get the latest and greatest Wi-Fi technology have Wi-Fi 6E. And then I think nobody has routers that are compatible with Wi-Fi 7. So this is very future-proofed. In 12, 13, 14 years, you will probably get as good Wi-Fi performance as everybody else with your Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. So yeah, for as long as you want to use this phone, unless you're planning on using it for 30 years, you will get a very, very fast, very good, and very reliable Wi-Fi performance. In fact, I have downloaded the speed test app so you can see how fast it is. For reference, I have 500 megabits per second, I think, and I'm in the opposite side of my house. Okay, so I'm very far away from the router. This should technically be terrible Wi-Fi performance, but I'm confident that because this has such good Wi-Fi technology and so good, it is going to give me decent Wi-Fi rates. There we go. Okay, 28 ping, that's pretty good. It's gonna get to 100 megabits per second in the opposite side of the house. 2 walls covering the router from my phone, and even then 160, damn, 160 download, over 50 upload. Is it gonna get to 100 upload? That would be incredible. Damn, that's great. Over 100 download, in the opposite side of the house like that's crazy. As I said earlier, you have Bluetooth 5.3, which is the most advanced Bluetooth connectivity standard available right now. So you get very fast multiple device connectivity with the highest audio fidelity possible. And well, just in case you're interested, let's take a look at the connections tab. Of course, we have the Wi-Fi settings, the Bluetooth settings, NFC, contact payments, because yes, we have NFC and it's free, open. We can basically connect and take advantage of any NFC accessory, unlike with the iPhone. We have ultra wideband. This allows you to, much like with the iPhone, I think the iPhone was the first one to include this, you can basically locate with an insane amount of precision any ultra wideband accessory you have. So imagine you buy an AirTag-like accessory, right? Or like a Tide. You know those Tides you connect to a bag or to like a luggage or to an expensive item? You can locate those items with insane amounts of precision, centimeters of precision, with an ultra-wideband chip, which the S24 Ultra has. And then you have a more connection settings tab, which mainly is useful for VPNs. If you want to connect to a VPN or use a VPN, this is where you can basically have all the settings and set it up and use it the way you want. But anyways, let's move on to what I believe is the most impressive part of the phone, the cameras. As you can see, we have the same camera layout we had last year with the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, but we have some improvements. First off, we get the same ultra-wide camera, we get the same main camera with 200 megapixels, very impressive and very useful. You'll see later that there's a difference in sharpness between a normal photo and a 200 megapixel photo. We get the same 3x 10 megapixel camera. We get the same sensors here. This is not a camera, these are sensors, depth sensors more specifically. And the only change we get on the back of the phone is the new 5x telephoto camera. So yeah, last year we had a 10x telephoto camera with 10 megapixels. Now we get a 5x telephoto camera with 50 megapixels. So it's less telephoto, but more megapixels, which in a weird way makes it more versatile because we have a sharper 5x range, but we maintain the sharpness of the 10x range because we can do a 2x on the camera without losing that much detail because it has extra detail because of the, 5 times more megapixels on the camera. And on the front, we get the same 12 megapixel camera we had last year, which in my opinion is one of the best, if not the best, selfie cameras we've seen on any phone up till this day. Something you should probably know, just in case you need it, is that you can take HDR video with all of these cameras, and you can take HDR 10 plus video with all of these cameras. So if you want to take, for some reason, any kind of HDR video, you're covered with the S24 Ultra. Okay, now let's take a quick look at the camera app, because on Android phones, and especially Samsung phones, we have a lot of options for the way we want to take photos and videos. As you can see, for the photo layout, we have this sort of like menu setting at the top where we can select from, first off, megapixel count. We can choose from 12, 50, and 200 megapixels at best. As you can see, if we select 12 megapixels, we have pretty much every mode for the camera. If we select 50 megapixels, we can only do 1x and 5x. And if we do 200 megapixels, we can only use that with the main camera. I'm gonna set it to 12 megapixels. We can also change the aspect ratio. So if we want to take a normal photo, that's 3:4. We can do 9:16, which is what the aspect ratio of this video. For example, we can also do 1:1, which is a square photo for the OG Instagram vibes. And we can also do full, which is basically ultra wide photos. It basically uses the entirety of the display for like for some reason, ultra-wide photo. I've never seen ultra-wide photos. I don't think this makes a lot of sense, but if you want to take one of these photos, you can. There is the option to do that. We can also set a timer, of course. We can also set the toggle of flash, of course, basic features. This pretty much carries on to the video, although when it comes to video, it's not about megapixels, it's about resolution. So if we set it to, say, 1080p, well, let's start with 720p. We can use every mode. If we set it to full HD, every mode. If we set 4K, every mode. But if we set it to 8K, we can only use 8K video with the main camera and the 5x telephoto camera. Of course, at only 30 FPS. What's beautiful about this phone is that you can do 30 FPS on 4K, 60 FPS on 4K, and also 120. Although you have to toggle that in the special menu. We'll see that later. Of course, we can also set it to different aspect ratios. We can do normal video, we can do 1:1 video, and we can do ultra wide video. We also have an action mode, which I cannot show you right now, but basically crops in a little bit so we get less shakiness when we're hand holding the device, so it feels like it's on a gimbal, on a tripod. Maybe not on a tripod, but on a stabilization system. We also can toggle the flash on and off, and those are pretty much all the settings for video. We can also toggle portrait mode. For some weird reason though, we can only do portrait photo from the main camera app layout. Of course, we can use the 1x camera, the 2x, which is a crop on the 1x, 3x, which is this little one right here, and the 5x. We cannot do portrait mode with the ultra wide camera. I think that has to do with the size of that sensor. Maybe it's a little bit smaller and the phone doesn't have enough detail to add that fake background blur. Then if you click on more, you have every other video and photo option. Very interesting. We have pro modes for photo and video. So if you click on pro, you basically can change the shutter speed, the ISO, the white balance, you can focus manually instead of automatically. Pretty much every camera setting you have on a DSLR camera, on a professional camera, you have on this phone, and that's very, very handy for people that want to take things a little bit more seriously, or sometimes you just want to dial the settings right. You have that option for both photo and for video. That's amazing. Then you have the night mode for when you want to take photos at night. Of course, I think the phone does this automatically, but if you enable it with this specific toggle, it basically is going to be permanently on the night mode, so you can ensure that the phone is going to take night mode photos. We have a food mode too. I'm not really a fan of this, but it supposedly enhances the colors and the contrast for when you're taking photos of food. To be fully honest, I think you can do the same thing by applying a filter for any photo. So I would just not toggle this, just take a normal photo and then tweak it in the settings. I think you're gonna get a pretty similar result, and then you're not compromising that photo with those baked in colors of the food mode. Then you have slow motion, which, by the way, let's remember, as I said, you can do 4K up to 120 FPS, but you have to enable the slow motion mode. Once you're here, you can do full HD up to 240 FPS, or you can do 4K up to 120 FPS. This is amazing. This basically allows you to capture very high detail, high quality slow-mo video, which is something that I guess if you're not in the camera world and you don't really know about these things, you don't really understand what this means, but there's very few professional video cameras that can do 4K 120, and they're all very expensive. So the fact that this phone can do 4K 120 is insane. It's very impressive. Then you also have the typical hyperlapse mode. You have portrait video. For some reason, portrait video is here instead of on portrait mode. But yeah, like that's kind of a weird thing, Samsung, that you allow people to use portrait photos from the main menu, but you make people go to more and then portrait video for portrait video. It's kind of weird. Then you have dual recording for when you want to record two things at the same time. Let me show you real quick. You can basically record the front camera and the rear camera. I'm not sure you can do multiple rear cameras at the same time, but you can, as you can see, you can do two cameras, the front and the back at the same time. This can be very handy if you're, I guess, recording something and reacting at the same time. This can be a very handy feature for that. And then of course, we have a quick toggle for the camera settings. Apple, you could learn a thing or two about the way Samsung does things. You can add also a watermark for some reason. If you selected, it basically says S24 Ultra in every video and every photo you take. And then of course you can change the default settings for when you're recording photos and videos. For example, if you want to take specifically 60 FPS videos when it's possible, you can enable that. If you want to just do 30 FPS, you can choose that. And if you want this to be off, then it's off, and you basically choose you get the last option chosen when you reopen the app. By the way, I would highly recommend you enable the grid lines. This basically is, let me show you on the camera app. Oh, I was already in the camera app. This 9 squares dividing the view of what you're taking a photo or video of are very good for basically composing your shot. If you don't have these lines, you don't really have a lot of awareness of what's in the center, what's on the sides. So if you want to take better photos and better video, I would recommend enabling the grid lines on the settings. Okay, so is the S24 Ultra worth it? Well, yes, in my opinion, it is very worth it. It is probably the ultimate Android phone you can get in 2024. I mean, it may not be the best at everything. There's, of course, things you can get a better experience with a specific other phone. Like maybe you're going to get better experience with a gaming phone for gaming. Maybe you're going to get a better camera experience with a Google Pixel. But it is basically very good at everything. So there's nothing you're going to have a bad experience with if you get the S24 Ultra. It has very good cameras, very good display, probably the best display. I'm pretty sure we can say that right now. The best display on any phone in 2024. Very good processor, very good gaming performance, very good everything. The materials, it has titanium, it has glass, very nice, very premium. It is a beast of a phone. Of course, it is also very expensive unless you get it at a discount. As I said earlier, on Amazon, maybe you don't get all the color options, maybe you don't get all the storage options, but if you want the basic phone like I do, like the titanium one with 256, you can get it at an amazing price on Amazon. I left a link down below in the description. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this very long video, and I will see you all in the next one.